Hello and welcome to Claret Brew, our weekly show where myself, Dan Rolinson, meet up with John Townley and Matt Kendrick to discuss whatever we like for 30 minutes of Aston Villa football chat. Today's topic is, well, the format is we're going to make a list of 9 things contributing 3 each, and we're going to go round the table, if you like, put a list together of the 9 Aston Villa WTF moments. Matt, do you want to describe for those that maybe are unaware what WTF stands for?
What the...
Or, to be more polite, I had this down as like moments you kind of had to be there for. Moments that you'd look back on and go, wow, remember that? And we'd go, oh yeah. It's that kind of like vibe is the list we're trying to create here. So who wants to start then? Who wants to kick this off with their first WTF moment?
You go first, Dan.
So my first one is one that we actually spoke about on the podcast recently, but in a different way. And I've picked the Tyrone Mings handball incident, which was an absolute, what was that? And we spoke about this in the sense that, John, you kind of stuck up for it, for want of a better phrase, of like, It was a mistake, it's complete head loss, whatever. But even putting that to side, watching a professional footballer pick up the ball and be punished for that, and everyone's looking around going, what's gone on there? I've never seen that happen. I might never see it again in my football supporting lifetime. So that, for me, stands out as a more recent, what's happened there?
It was chaos where I was because the Claret Brew press box is chaos and it's not fit for purpose. The Wi-Fi barely works, all those different things. So, and I had no idea what was going on because I looked up just as did Mings still have the ball in his hands, I think. TVs were like behind us, so I'm shouting across to someone else. Like, I think it was the Sun reporter at the time, saying like, what's he done? Like, what's going on? It's like, it was mayhem. It's like a newsroom for about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So didn't know what was happening, but obviously turned out like that. And yeah, it was in the end something that worked for us. I can't quite remember what the narrative was, but it was something along the lines of we would have played a better team than
something like
Brew,
that.
maybe. Yeah. So it worked out in the end.
Matt, we don't need to touch on this too much because I know we've got a list to get through. So do you want to fire me? And we spoke about this recently. Do you want to fire me one of your WTF moments?
Yeah, I will go with, which one will I go with? The Jack Grealish being punched in the head.
Good one.
I was at St Andrews that afternoon. It's a Sunday afternoon, and name dropping again, obviously friend of the family. Kevin Grealish, Jack had never played at St Andrews before. Villa had played there, but Jack had been injured or whatever. And he spoke to him a couple of days, spoke to his dad a couple of days before the game. And he's like, I've got a really bad feeling about this, Matt. You know, I've got a feeling like he might become a target. I was like, oh, don't be silly. You know, these police and stewards and, you know, it'll be fine. And then just sitting there, and it was like a WTF moment, and it was like a double take. It was like, did that really just happen? And obviously the fellas come out of the Tilton end and just really cowardly, isn't it? You know, punching somebody in the back of the head. Particularly, you know, I always think, you know, imagine if that was in any other workplace and somebody just wanders in off the street and punches you when you're at your computer, or, you know, when you're serving cappuccinos in the coffee shop. And it was just such a horrible moment. But ultimately, Villa and Jack Grealish reacted in absolutely the right way. Inspired Grealish to go and score the winning goal, and it was a little bit like a kind of Hollywood good prevails, you know, good conquers evil. It was horrible, and obviously the guy was jailed, I think, wasn't he? And then subsequently, a couple of years later, died at, you know, in his early 30s. So it was a tragedy from that sense. One thing that struck me immediately post-match, Kev was back on the phone saying, Matt, I'm going to go on WM. This is a disgrace. I'm like, let's calm down a little bit, to be honest. You know, just kind of, you know, Jack's conducted himself with class the way he's done it. I think his post-match, he said it was the best day of his life, didn't it? Which is so Jack Grealish, being punched in the face, punched in the head. But yeah, it's the best day of my life. Dean Smith spoke really, really well at the end of that match, considering he was still in the bowels of the stadium at St Andrews and had got to try and get home himself. The fans around him who just, you know, were cheering and cheering it on when it happened. And I think Smith was as angry as anything that the Blues fans around the culprit didn't police him, if you like, or didn't condemn him. You don't expect it to happen on a football pitch, and thankfully it doesn't happen very often on a football pitch. And thankfully on this occasion it didn't have any serious implications for Grealish, and actually gave us a little bit of energy in that run towards promotion.
It's so bizarre. I always do feel like those games at St Andrews could boil over like that. I never obviously expected a player to get assaulted, but it's so embarrassing. Really,
Yeah.
The Enkelman one, as well.
Exactly.
I know years
That's what I
previously
mean.
that when Enkelman let that one in, the fan was straight in his face, goading him. It's not nice.
I mean, the added WTF layer to that for me, and presume you, John, is that we're watching that on TV, and they don't show much, do they? When things like this happen on TV, it's cutting away to, they don't show replays and stuff for legal reasons or whatever. And it's like, we don't know what's going on here. That you see it happen, but because they're kind of saying, someone's coming on the pitch and done with this, but they don't show anything. What indeed. Go on then, John. Give me one of yours. Let's rattle through these, shall we?
I may as well bring on another kind of moment from a Blues Villa derby, the Alan Hutton goal in front of the whole 10 to make it 4-2. That was, there's been many WTF moments down the years, right? But this one, just I always think of these Blues Villa games sometimes. We always kind of went one better. So you had like the Horahan goal and then Hutton goes one better. Alan Hutton, of all people, to go from inside his own half. Take on nearly the whole Blues team and put it in the corner to make it 4-2. And then, of course, Grealish took it up another level. But yeah, that Hutton goal for me was a massive WTF because no one thought I guess if we're going to call him the Scottish Cafu, then maybe we did think he had it in his locker. But to do it in that game was, just remarkable.
All I think about with that goal is he's halfway to Mosley.
Yeah.
That's the line I associate with that goal. Like that commentary from WM. So good.
Just the way it opened up for him, you're thinking, okay, then go on.
Is it Gary Gardner he shoved off or Craig Gardner?
I think it was one of the Gardners. I'm sure.
Like, there's a violation there for me. Of like, you allowed Alan Hutton to do that. Someone of that level. If it's Grealish, you kind of expect like he's a magician, right? He can do things like that. But this idea of like, you can imagine the fan base being like, "Oh, we would never let a player run the length of the pitch." Or one of our lads had flattened him. They didn't. They basically just let Alan Hutton of all people walk through and just sink in another goal. Like, come on, lads.
Maybe that's the key. Though maybe he was kind of hiding in plain sight.
Whereas
if it had been Grealish or a flair player, that had been touch tight, wouldn't they? But it's Alan Hutton. Even if he gets to that goal line, he's probably
left foot as well.
He's probably going to clear it. It was a mad game, that was. To be honest, we were losing, weren't we?
It was 9 minutes in Dreamland for Blues fans.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
He really, I think, might have sold out by now.
Yeah, it really was. I've had a little doubt. People who missed the explanation of WTF at the start. If there's people of my age and my demographic who join us halfway through, I think, what are they talking about wrestling for? What's all this? What's all this WTF? So, it means what the.
Now, I couldn't boil this down to one moment, so I've simply just written down on my little notebook, Dr. Tony. What the whole of it? Everything. Somebody in the fan section tweeted that the press release when we or he announced the takeover would basically look like an email. It was so just like cobbled together, which I don't remember, to be honest. But the whole process of the Twitter emojis for the kind of teasing signings, the let's build a theme park, let's get into the Champions League in the next 5 years, which, to be fair to him, did happen. Not on his watch, though.
Wishing people a happy birthday.
Yeah, people who aren't actual relatives. We'll leave that there, shall we? Obviously, good mates with Bardell, and he'd been like in Dr. Tony's DMs, and he'd be asking him about like, what do you think of this player and stuff. It's like, what is going on here? That whole period, really, when you look back with hindsight and how different the club is to what it was back then, is a massive. What the hell was that? To censor myself there, unlike Kendrick.
I've sent him, like, when it all went. So this is
what is this going to be?
June 2018. 8 DMs just repeating the same thing here. It's like just saying, I think you owe it to the fans to come and explain what's going on. Just he's left me hanging on all of them, and I must have set a calendar reminder because I think they're weekly at the same time. This is not good enough. You were never quiet. During the good times, if you like, or during the hopeful times. But yeah, so he's left me hanging. Keith Warren was there, and Tony Jaa was there. I don't think I'd believe it was true. Looking back now, if I hadn't actually met him in person now, Tony Jaa, at that whatever unveiling or takeover media day or whatever, it was just bizarre, wasn't he? Yeah. I remember interviewing Keith Warnes about him saying, "Oh, he's a brilliant footballer, Matt. He's
yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. Is he a winger or something?"
I'm thinking,
It's a
Actually, I
strong
might,
word,
I might have done Wireless a disservice. I think he said he's a decent footballer. But I thought, no way, if he was a decent footballer, given how publicity hungry he was, we'd have seen, even back then, whatever it was. When did he take over? 2016, when we got...
nearly 10 years ago, yeah.
We'd have seen clips of it, wouldn't we? If he was any good.
He'd probably have put himself in the first team, to be honest.
That's it, yeah. And all that emoji nonsense. It was fun, wasn't it? While we still had hope.
Yeah.
It was fun, it was different, it was novel. But when it started to unravel, you're like, we've been had here, haven't we?
Yeah, I've gone with...
No, hang on. It was Kendrick second.
Is it me?
Sorry.
All right, then. Yeah,
Go on then, Matt.
You stole the camera off me the other day, John, so I'll still block back off you. I'm going to go for another serious, grim one, really. Although, again, it did have a happy ending when Santa sailed into the parachuting Santa sailed into the top of the Trinity Road stand back in December 98, I think it was. The halftime, for those who don't know, it was the halftime entertainment. There was a guy from the RAF who was parachuting Santa, who was supposed to parachute out of the sky and end up on the pitch at Villa Park for one reason or another. The parachute didn't quite work or didn't go in the direction as intended. He clipped the corner of the Trinity Road stand near where the tunnel is, and then just kind of fell without a parachute from that height to the track just by the side of the pitch. And it was a real, because obviously at half time it was prize where it lies days. So everybody's attention was on this Santa Claus that was coming out of the sky, and it was just. I remember I was in the front of the whole end with my mate Gaz, and just one of those ones where you kind of look at each other open mouthed, and you think, "Oh my God, is the guy even alive?" The fella had to have his leg amputated. There was a happy story in the sense that the nurse who was caring for him, they kind of a romance blossomed, and they got together, got married, and had kids together. I interviewed him. I don't know, it might be 10 years ago now. He was he's such an inspirational guy. He's on the Villa Mishmash behind me. There's a picture of him there, and I think the artist who did that was very careful to contact him and to say, well, would you mind going on it? And I think he did it when he returned back to an ovation from the fans with his kind of stick after the operation and that kind of thing. He's made it his cause to power through all the difficulties that he's had and to raise money and awareness for, I think, for veterans who've been injured in different ways. Bringing it back to football slightly, we were 2-0 down at half time. I think Bergkamp had scored and somebody else. And then Julian Joachim. So the second half was delayed by about 15 or 20 minutes. And we just roared back into life. Second half, 1-3-2. Julian Joachim scored. Dion Dublin scored twice. Stan Collymore, I remember, came off the bench as a second half substitute. It was absolutely brilliant. Won the game 3-2. I think we were top of the league that Christmas. Obviously, it's Aston Villa, so he wasn't meant to be. I think we fell down the league and finished 6th. But it was just anybody who was in the stadium that day must have thought, we've almost kind of we witnessed somebody losing their life. So as much as you don't want somebody to lose a limb, that was, compared to what could have happened, that was the better outcome. So file it down as things you do not expect to see happen inside a football stadium, basically.
Yeah, probably a more polite title that we should have gone with, what you've just said there. Things you just don't expect to see, things you think, oh, that's weird. Go on then, John. Give us your second one, please.
I've got 2 in 1 here, really, and it's surprise transfers. Geez. So,
okay,
Danny Ings. Danny Ings and the signing of Tom Carroll when we all thought it was going to be Leroy Fer. Both of them were a complete shock, but more so the Danny Ings one, completely out of the blue. On I don't know what day it was, but let's just call it a random Wednesday or something. Just had I don't know, like an alert on your phone or something, or you swiped on Twitter or whatever it may be, and it was signed Danny Ings. He was completely out of the blue. Definitely a WTF moment. I think everyone probably said those words as well when it was announced.
One of those ones where Danny Ings felt like a really exciting signing, that we'd signed a really prolific Premier League centre forward. Probably a little bit like Darren Bent did years previously. So you think, oh, actually, yeah, we've got a goal scorer here. And then you think, well, yes, typically we're the club where the goal scoring doesn't happen to quite the rate that it used to. But it felt okay. I think it was even on the same. I think the Ings might have been on the same day that the Grealish thing was confirmed.
It was same day as Bailey going. I don't know if that was also the same day as Grealish, but
I think.
it was the same day as which we signed Leon Bailey.
Yeah, I think it was the day that the Grealish thing was confirmed. I remember being in a Premier Inn in Devon, of all places, when Perslow's little message dropped, and we thought, well, okay. Yeah. It was almost as if we'd been on the front foot, and we tried to own that. Obviously, everybody's disappointed in losing Grealish, but we thought, well, these three players came with decent reputations. And, as we know, Emi Buendia was an absolute masterstroke.
Eventually, yeah. I was just searching my phone then while you were chatting for Ings on WhatsApp, because I knew that I was trying to find the specific message, but I can't. But I remember being in Aldi in Kiddie when it was announced, and somebody, one of you or somebody else we used to work with, messaging to say, we signed Danny Ings, and being like, that'd be like the call to arms. So like, well, we now need to go and do work for it. We need to do a podcast and stuff, because it came out of the blue for us. So I found a message with an old colleague saying, I just did 20 minutes podcast with Ash on Ings, and they said, thought that was a fake report. It came from nowhere. A lot of money for a 29-year-old, but Villa have done good business. I replied, brilliant signing. If he scores enough to get us into Europe, it's a good buy. Whoa, yeah, 2021. Think about Europe. How dare I? Yeah, it did feel like a good signing at the time, because he's a proven goal scorer, right? I'm not going to get much return on him because he's getting on a bit, but WTF indeed did not turn out the way anyone hoped. Okay, me again then. My last one of the three. One that we've talked about probably October every year since 2020, the anniversary of the 7-2 Liverpool game. We keep bringing it up. Yeah, beating Liverpool 7-2 in the COVID year. WTF for lots and lots of reasons. And because we're all watching it in that way and not at the stadium. And maybe that game doesn't unfold that way that it does if the stadium is full, right? That maybe is part of the story. But just sitting there watching it at home, being like, what is going on here? This is before my wife. She was not my wife back then, but we were chatting then, and being like the early stages of just getting to know one another. And she worked at a pub at the time, because it had just about reopened again by then, and in the world just a little bit. And I think the game was on, and she was talking to me like, is this like normal? Like Villa winning, like I've scored like 6 goals or something. I was like, no, that's definitely not normal. This is not how it normally goes, but it's really good. Like, this is great. So I associate that game with that as well. So you
had all the chat back then, didn't you, Dan? You had all the
chat. Came after the 6-1 at Old Trafford as well.
On the same day,
yeah. So it was a crazy day. I was at uni, and my room was in like my basement, in the basement of the house that I was sharing. And whenever Villa would score a goal, to kind of release energy of some sort, I had to run up the stairs and run back down, because you just have to do something. So I ran up the stairs about 5 times, and the 6 and 7, I got a little bit tired of them. So crazy game. It could have been more as well. Like, I feel like a lot of the things that we did in terms of the goals, maybe a couple of deflections here and there, like we got maybe a little bit lucky on some of the goals, but we did make more chances as well. So it could have been more, which is madness.
Lovely stuff. The 7th on our list, the 7-2. Your final one, Matt, and the penultimate of the show.
I've tried to bring a little bit of light relief, because my two have been quite serious so far, with somebody being assaulted on a football pitch and then somebody being seriously injured on a football pitch. So this one is Nicholas Helenius having his shorts pulled down. And it would have been 2013 under Paul Lambert. We lost 4-0 to. I'm just trying to load my report, because as you can imagine, it was a perfect opportunity for me to load my intro with like
Villa have their pants pulled down by Tottenham or something.
It exactly was that. So this is it. So Aston Villa had their Capital One Cup pants pulled down by Tottenham on a night when Nicholas Helenius' underwear provided Claret and Blue's only brief relief. So I won't read the whole thing through, but it was.
Get you writing again, man. Come on, what are we doing here?
You guys and our audience will know I'm a little child, aren't I? I'm a 47-year-old boy. So nobody likes to see your team battered at home and go out the cup. You know, we know how long it's been since we won a trophy and stuff like that. But I just remember giggling. It was just ridiculous. And so it had been when 2013. So my son would have been 5 and my daughter would have been 3 or whatever. And it was very much kind of Captain Underpants bedtime stories at the time. So it was just, I don't know. I just had that was it. Yeah. So it was just, it was just ridiculous, really. And it's a good job that he had a strong, sturdy pair of footballers' briefs on. To be honest, otherwise we could have seen something. Oh, that was the other thing as well. Because he was called Nicholas, he wasn't quite Nicholas. But I think that must have made it into the third paragraph as well. So even now, we got booted out the cup, and I'm still giggling about it. So I need to grow up.
I mean, he must have, but I couldn't even tell you a goal that he just scored for us. But I remember him for that. Come on then, John, bring the show home. Our final what the moment from an Aston Villa perspective. What have you got for us?
Involving Liverpool again, the 4-1 defeat in the FA Cup when we had to play the kids, but Louis Barry's goal.
Yeah.
I thought it was a fantastic moment and probably one of my favourite goals as well in the last, 10 years, should we say, like that. I just thought it was fantastic. Obviously, a fan of the club, such a young player. It was to draw level as well with a Liverpool team that at the time had so many international players, top quality players, top Premier League players playing against us. We went 1-0 down in the first few minutes, if I remember rightly. But then Barry pulled us level before half-time. Just an incredible moment for him and for the club, for the academy, just outrageous. Just fantastic moment, but especially because he's a fan. And I remember thinking at the time, actually, and probably thinking quite negatively about how, well, you know what, maybe that is his Villa moment. And at the time, he was very much a promising player for us, coming through the ranks. Obviously joined from Barcelona with a lot of kind of pedigree, I guess, in youth football at least. But yeah, when he scored that goal, I did think at the time, like, hopefully that's not his highlight, because you want him to play for the club moving forward. But at the same time, I did think, well, if it is as good as it's going to get for him, then that's still an incredible moment to have. So yeah, that was definitely a WTF moment.
I probably at that time thought, oh wow, he's going to be the best player we've ever had. I mean, what year was he, John?
2021, I think, or 2020. It was 2021. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't have been blessed. I know we'd signed Danny Ings. Had we signed Danny Ings by then?
Yeah,
that was the summer of 21, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I can't remember. Anyway, basically, we were probably saying, "Oh, get him straight in the first team, get him playing every week." And it's not always that straightforward, is it? But I think I'm fairly safe in saying that will be his moment, won't it? I can't see Louis Barry coming in troubling our first team.
No, well, we sanctioned the permanent exit, didn't we? And then didn't happen in the end. We hadn't signed Ings, so you rightly say there, Dan. It was the summer that we had him. So, what was the backup to Watkins then? Did we have one?
Would have been Samatta still there?
No, he left.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I care enough, John, to be honest.
No, I don't think so. No, carry on.
We don't care enough about that, John. So we're going to move on to some fan reaction. The first one I've got, and I'll show this to you guys, is a hilarious picture of having his shorts pulled down. So I'm going to read a few of the suggestions we've had. Holly says, Grealish getting punched. Can't believe that. Alex says, Danny Ings. So, yeah, done those. Danny says, Ross McCormack getting dropped for not making it to training because his gates were locked and couldn't be asked to climb over, allegedly. That was a strange scenario. Adam Wright says, Alex McLeish being named manager. When rumours first emerged, I completely dismissed it as nonsense, as I couldn't see a world where Villa employed McLeish. So when it started to be reported by Matt Kendrick and the like, it was a proper what the f*** are we doing moment. That I felt similar at the time, being however old I would have been back then, of like, surely not. Surely this isn't real.
It was a very rare Matt Kendrick exclusive, that was, in the Sunday.
The last one.
I ran that, he probably was, yeah. I ran that in the Sunday Mercury, and people were saying, "Oh, what are you stirring this up for, Matt? What you doing this for? Like, what is happening?" And it was one of those ones where, as a journalist, if you're reporting something, you almost need it to happen to be validated for the story to be proved correct. But then you think, I don't really want this to happen. So yeah, it was a bizarre one, that was, and we know how it played out, don't we?
Colin says Martin O'Neill on punditry for the World Cup, spotting Salifu and then signing him. Salifu getting the chance, but only playing 4 games. Yeah, Salifu was a very odd one. Chris was the one I mentioned earlier. Dr. Tony, I was hoping for a multi-billionaire. Then I saw the press release that looked like an email, and my heart dropped to the floor. I really don't remember that, but yeah, we spoke about that a bit. Dave says, "Oh, remember this? Wearing out away kit for a home game against West Ham. Picture of Heskey there. Do you remember that? What was the reason for that?
I think there was a problem with their kit, wasn't there? They forgot to pack it or something, or there was a difficulty. So Villa, out of the goodness of their heart, decided to play in the home kit.
Would that have been the game? Was that Milner's final game? Or am I getting my seasons mixed up?
No, I don't think so.
Dale says, being pumped, ready for our biggest ever game at Villa Park against PSG, and the Europa League anthem comes on.
Oh, wow. Great shout.
That is a great shout.
Great
yeah, that was
shout.
How many people said, what the is going on here when that happened? That must have been the biggest collection of what the ever. When Leeds let us score a goal in the Championship, says Dicky. Yeah, that's a good shout as well. Quite a few shouts for the Liverpool 7-2, the Santa. David Unsworth signing and then not being signed because he went to realise Birmingham was not next to Liverpool, which is great. One more. James Corton says, all your Neelands logic-defying save against Sheffield United. Yeah, that's also a great shout. And lots of these things in different episodes we've obviously talked about over the years of like, remember this and remember that, but to put them all in a list together has been good fun.
I'd have maybe John Terry as well, signing for Villa. That felt like a big WTF time.
Yeah, the only quick two I'd add would be the Dave Chance one when he starts singing "You Never Walk Alone" at the Holtens last stand against Liverpool of all people. Other one, Ronnie Rosenthal, when he's missed that sitter in front of the open goal in front of the hole. And really, really randomly, when we played at Portland Timbers in a friendly in pre-season, Tom Hanks is there, but Tom Hanks being there is not the thing. They've got this bloody, what's he called? It's called Chainsaw Joey or something. Or
yeah.
Like revving a chainsaw, like proper revving a chainsaw. I think Samir Carruthers scored the winning penalty or something. And they interviewed him saying, well, what's it like? He said, well, if I can, it's only a friendly, but if I can score a penalty while somebody's kind of waving a chainsaw behind the goal, then that should set me up well. It didn't, but there you go. Maybe it scared him.
I know this podcast is an early morning recording for us and when it comes out, but was that a dream? What you just said there could have been an absolute fever. Sammy Carruthers scoring a penalty with a chainsaw and Tom Hanks was there. What was going on there?
I think so, mate. Unless I need to change these tablets that I'm on.
I think they give like a piece of wood. They obviously chainsaw off to the goal scorer or something, or like the MVP. It's something like that. I've seen it before. Yeah, it's MLS, isn't it?
Just a shout out to everybody watching or listening along. Share yours as well. There'll be absolutely millions of these from game specific things of somebody missing a chance or scoring a worldie out of nowhere that we've completely overlooked. I mean, however many years that you followed Villa, there'll be loads of these things, but we've kind of hit on a few of the big ones based on what Twitter has sent over as well, that we've talked about ones that were suggested our way. So, but there'll be absolutely loads. Good fun though, gents. Enjoyed that very much. I like the format of us all bringing bits to the table. So if you want to suggest topics for us to take on as well, that would be great in the comments. We'll join you next for the post-Europa League chat when Villa play Go Ahead Eagles on Thursday night. We'll have the fan zone for Man City on Friday and a post-match at the weekend as well. Thanks everyone for watching or listening, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye.